A meaningful job is not necessarily a job where you're going to be happy. A meaningful job is not always going to be fun. So that gave my life significance. That gave my life purpose. I was able to use my values. What is your most significant job? Welcome to Tête-à-Tête, a place for truth, hope, and healing. And today we are going to talk about a meaningful job and why you should always try to get one. So first of all, what is a meaningful job? A meaningful job is one that provides a sense of purpose, significance, and connection beyond just a paycheck. It aligns with a person's values, utilizes their strengths, contributes to something greater than themselves, and it allows them to feel that their work matters. Now, let me ask you, do you have a meaningful job right now? Are you working at a meaningful job or towards a meaningful job? So I want to talk today about 3 components of a meaningful job: the purpose, the significance, and the alignment of values, right? So let's start with purpose. When do you know that you have a job where it fulfills your purpose? A meaningful job often supports a mission or goal that the worker believes in. Right now, at your job, does it support your goal, your mission, what you believe in? And a lot of times, the easiest way to find that out, let's just take an example, right? Let's just start with a doctor. A doctor, they have a mission. The mission is to provide the treatment, the insight that you will need to figure out what exactly is going on with you in order to get you to that healing that you deserve, that you require at the moment. You don't go to a doctor if you're not feeling sick, if you don't have a need to see a doctor, right? Now, a doctor, before you see a doctor being a doctor, at least I'd love to believe that before they even went to school for it, they realize that there is a need. There's a mission there. There's a goal. If I become a doctor, I will be able to take care of people in need of medicines, in need of cure, in need of a treatment. That's the mission. So I'm going to go to school, study really hard, and become a doctor. There are many other professions out there that requires a great deal of intelligence, a great deal of time. Here's another thing, time, where you also get patience. So a lot of times you can come to that conclusion or get to that conclusion when you realize that, this profession, I feel like I have a calling for it. I want to do that. If you are willing to put in the time, go to school for however many years to achieve that, you have a purpose because you are willing to put in the work, the patience that it requires to get there. Yes, to be a doctor, you need to be intelligent and be able to comprehend and retain all the terminologies and understanding the human body, how it works and everything. But the patience, there are a lot of people who would love to be a doctor, but they don't have the patience to be a doctor. The patience, having the time, having the knowledge, the patience to actually achieve that, that's a big thing. You can figure out whether your purpose is to do that or not. Other professions might not require the amount of time to become that, but at least the patience is almost always going to be there, right? So that's the purpose. Now, we'll talk about significance. There's significance when you see that you are at a job where you're making a difference, right? Again, let's use doctor. We can use nurses, right? Nurses, they're very, very hard workers. They put in hours that most people don't put in, and the kind of work that they do, you can just see it. You can ask just about anybody. When you talk about a nurse, some of the first things that popped in your head, wow, you must have a big heart, a heart to help. You are making a difference, right? So when you're a nurse, you're a doctor, you are an engineer, or where you are just building things to accommodate to the society, people living in the community, the culture, the country. You are thinking beyond yourself. That's the significance, right? You are making a difference, and you will, and you purposely choose to do so. That's the significance of that. Now, alignment with your values, right? What is that? So The alignment with your values is really as simple as that. I want to work at this hospital, or I want to work at this firm. What do they believe? Will who I am, the values that I hold, be of help? Will they require my values? Will I be able to shine in this environment, basically, right? Do my values align with this firm, this hospital, this business, this job? That's what that is. So a lot of people, they end up working in places and they don't, after a while they're there. It might be reasons with not being able to get in, on a good path, or get, I don't know, just get along with the coworkers. But even deeper than that, you're doing a job where you don't even understand why you're there. You're doing it for the paycheck. That's a big reason. Big reason why people do a lot of jobs. They do it for the paycheck. Now, let's be honest with each other. I'm not going to say it like this as if it's not important. I believe doing a job for a paycheck is probably in the top 5. Although I just give you 3 components, 3 really big components that I believe you should think about before you get a job. But the paycheck, I'd say, is top 5. Why? We live in a world that anything you see, anything you want, anything you need, anything you want to do requires you to have money. You can't do it without money. One of the only things that is still free in this world is the air that you breathe. Some might even say that it's not. Pretty soon it might not be. I don't know. But listen, it's important. It's important to have a job where you feel like you are meeting your financial needs. Your kids are going to school. Your kids are being clothed, being fed. You can afford basic things. And even if you want to afford more than just basic things, you're able to do that. That's very important, right? But at the same time, you got to look at it not just for the time being, but in the long run. Will I be happy there? What would make me happy there? What are my values? Will my values be something that I can utilize at this particular job, this particular company? Will they need my values? Can I reach my potentials? That's very important. Those are all things that you have to think about if you want to just do a job, a meaningful job that doesn't just stop at you paying the bills, because there's a lot more to life than that, right? So what is a meaningful job? Basically is not. A meaningful job is not a job where it's just about a paycheck, or you searching and just doing anything to get the highest paying job. That's not a meaningful job. Could be a component of a meaningful job, but that is not what a meaningful job is. A meaningful job is not necessarily a job where you're going to be happy. It could be a component of a meaningful job if all those things that I mentioned at the beginning align, but it is not just that. A meaningful job is not always going to be fun. Again, it can be a component, one of the components of having a meaningful job, but it's not even top 3, top 5. One could argue. And so as we're talking about a meaningful job, right? So for me, I guess I'll tell you what for me a meaningful job is. And again, a meaningful job is not for everybody. And I'm about to tell you what the most meaningful job that I've ever had is, or was, because I don't do it anymore, but that's what it was. I believe you can have more than one meaningful job. I believe in that. But one of my most meaningful job that I've ever had was a CNA, certified nursing assistant. To all my CNAs out there, I tip my hats. I know firsthand. I did it for about 4 years. I know firsthand how hard and difficult it is, physically and mentally. I would argue mentally it's even harder. And so why was that my most meaningful job? Let me share with you. In life, you see a lot of people just kind of acting like they're, I don't know, holier than thou. They're bigger than life. They have money. You can't talk to them. They have influence. They have power. They have all those things that make you feel like you're walking on the clouds, right? But the way life is, you start out being a baby, a little infant, and you become a teenager. You become a young adult, you become an old person, until you get to a point like where you kind of go back to the beginning, but in a more embarrassing way where you are not able to do so many things that you used to do, to a point where somebody else has to do it for you. That's where CNA comes in. A lot of people, they were able to work hard enough while they could. And so with their retirement, they're able to afford a nursing home. Hopefully a good one. I know a lot of bad ones. I've seen a lot of bad ones. I've worked at one or two bad ones. And when you are a CNA, you are doing stuff that you never thought you would do. Matter of fact, when I was a CNA, I've asked plenty of my friends. None of them said that they could do it. Once I tell them the details, the things that I do on a daily basis every time I go to work, they said they couldn't do it. It's not for everybody. While it's my most rewarding job, the most meaningful job that I've had, one of them, it is not for everybody. I've seen a lot of people doing it just for a paycheck, which is really bad because there are a lot of jobs that you don't do just for a paycheck. That's one of them. And so for the ones that are doing it well, with all their hearts, giving those residents, those patients, all the love, the genuine love that they deserve, I tip my hats to you because it's a job that requires you to do a lot and not just physically, mentally. It's very, very draining. Why? You're seeing people at the worst. The worst. When you have to bathe somebody, you have to take them to the restroom, you have to clothe them, you have to feed them. Those are things that we take for granted because you wake up in the morning and you brush your teeth and you take a shower, you feed yourself, you walk to work, you come back, you go do sporting events, you do sports stuff. You just go on about life. Every day you wake up, you don't even think about it. That's just automatic. Like I'm supposed to be able to do that. But as you get older, you lose your ability to function the way they used to function. I mean, everybody knows that, but you don't really think about that as much as perhaps you should, because there will be a time when somebody's going to have to do all those things for you. And it's a sad thing because I took care of lawyers, judges, engineers, people who were very high in society. I've had people dying while holding my hand, and it puts things in perspective. So why was it so meaningful to me? It gave me a purpose. It gave my life significance. I was able to use my values. As hard as it was mentally, every time I would come back from work, a part of me would always be looking forward to go back and do it again because I know those patients were waiting on me to provide. Only I can provide. So that gave my life significance. That gave my life purpose. I was able to use my values. And so that's something to think about. What is your most significant job? Your most meaningful job? Again, it's not about the money. The money comes after. It's about where can I shine? Where can I be to live my full potentials? So think about that, right? Very important. Nowadays, you see a lot of kids just growing up, having little jobs here and there, doing yard work, working at fast food places, and they get to college. They still don't know what they want to do. They have not explored what their values are, their potentials, their goal, their mission, and where would I find that perfect fit? Again, you may never find that perfect fit where you see all those things, those components that I outlined at the beginning come into play. But at least there will be one or two or three, at least some of them. There are too many people doing jobs that they have absolutely zero interest in. And you become miserable. The people around you become miserable and life just kind of passed by. You look forward to retirement at 25, at 30 years old, because you're so not enjoying what you're doing at the moment. And I'm here to tell you, if not the one reason, at least the second biggest reason, if not the number one reason, is because your values don't align, you don't have a purpose, and you're just doing it for a paycheck. There's no significance in anything that you're doing. Find something that you're passionate about, right? Because a lot of times passion does not exactly equate to money. If you find something that you're passionate about, it may not bring you money. It may not bring you the fame, the prosperity that you're expecting, but it will bring you fulfillment. It will bring you joy. And that's very important. That's very important. And that's something that I had to learn. But when I learned it, it helped me get to a better place. Motherhood, for me right now, I know a lot of people don't think about that as a job. if it is a job, I see it as a job, and I look forward to just continue to do the best that I can every single day. With all my 4 kids, I want to be, like, my goal is to not have any regrets. I will have regrets. I already have some, but they're not regrets that I can't just go back and be like, okay, let me try to redo that. It's nothing that's irreversible, right? Or maybe I shouldn't yell at him there. I shouldn't do that. Okay, I was angry. But I can always go back and shower them with love. That's the job. And it's right now, it's my most rewarding job. So hopefully you guys can find value in that and think about what that is for you, because I promise you that will bring you a lot of joy, a lot of happiness, and you'll see a difference. Just keep looking. Don't settle. And again, I know the money part is a big, big part of it. Anything you can think of these days, if you can see it, there's a ching sign right behind it, because you need to pay for it. That's just the world that we've built, we've created. It revolves around money. You got to have money. Everybody's after money. Everybody's after that. But you got to take a moment to pause and realize, how come all these people who have so much money, somehow they're still miserable? Somehow they're the worst people to actually try to have a conversation with. They're the worst people to actually be around. So that tells you everything. It's not just about the money. You got to have a passion. You have to look for a way to utilize your passion, your values, your everything that you feel like you have to offer. Find the right fit for it. And it might take you some time, but it's out there, I promise you. And how do you identify those things? Well, the way you identify those things is, again, you got to ask yourself some questions, right? Does this work align with what I believe in? That's very important. Do I see the impact of what I do? Do I feel energized or proud of my work? Would I do this if I didn't need the money? Am I growing or learning here? Those are very, very important things. Those are simple questions that you can ask yourself every time you really are truly serious about getting that job that you can hold for a very long time, but most importantly, find the answer to those questions, right? So very important. And so a meaningful job, again, it's never going to be grandiose. It's not always going to be grandiose. Matter of fact, a lot of times it's not glamorous. It's not one of those jobs that you get to just say, look at me, I am this, I'm a doctor. Even a doctor, I'm not a doctor, but I've worked with doctors. I've worked in the same field as doctors, nurses. It's not always glamorous. It's not always fun to go to work and have to do that. I would be willing to bet a doctor in particular, just like it was for me as a nurse aide, certainly not putting myself in the doctor's level, even though we worked in the same environment. But the idea is the same. Why are you doing this job? A lot of doctors, is not about the money. It's about the passion that they have to cure people, to take care of people, to make people feel better, to give people a brighter tomorrow, to feel like they're making a difference in the society, in this world. That's why a lot of doctors go to third world countries and do a lot of humanitarian work. It's because the passion that they have, it always burns so deeply, just to be able to do the most that they can with that profession that they've learned, which obviously couples with their values. And so you got to ask yourself those questions and keep looking. Don't settle. You can settle for a little bit. Use this job that you're not very passionate about as a bridge to get to there, and this one that you're also not passionate about as a bridge to get to here. And once you get here, like, keep your focus. You can always see the job that you need. You can just keep thinking about it. If you don't know it, keep thinking about it. Again, ask yourself those questions. Where can I can use my values? Where can I be energized to look forward to go to work? Where can I make the biggest difference? Where can I actually be who I am, who I was meant to be, who God created me to be? Those questions, I guarantee, will lead you to the right place. Keep thinking about those questions. And once you find that target, keep your eyes on the prize. You might not be able to get it right then and there. For me, for example, when I was working as a CNA, I was still going to school during the day and then work full-time as a CNA at night. They were helping me pay for school, and I needed to work to pay the bills. but my eyes was on the prize. I needed to get that college degree. I wanted that college degree, right? Because by having that, it will help me get to the next step. So just because you're working at McDonald's, Arby's, landscaping, there's nothing wrong with any of those things. You cleaning, I have a commercial cleaning company. You cleaning, you doing this and that. That should not stop you. Give it all you got. Have good work ethic as you are using those jobs as stepping stones to get to where you need to get. Nobody's forcing you to do a job that you don't want to do. And you have the capability, you have what it takes to achieve at least, if not all of these components, at least most of them. Keep going at it. Don't stop. If you get values out of this, please give it a thumbs up and also follow me. I'll be posting a lot more about those type of topics, and stay safe. Love you guys. Hey, yeah, you. Thank you for supporting the channel. Like, subscribe, and share it. Help me spread the word.